Welcome back to another vlog for Rules of Survival. If you don't know what Rules of Survival is, it is my Alien versus Resident Evil inspired space horror sci-fi novel that I have been working on since early 2025, and I wrote the entirety of draft 1 in 2025, vlogged the entirety of that process, and we've now been working on draft 2. And we are currently sitting at 67,000 words or so, and we've just finished Act 3 out of 5. I'm specifying out of 5. I've decided to finally call them acts instead of parts, but they're essentially parts of my book in the structure of it. I had a realization a few vlogs ago that my structure was not 4 or 3 acts. We have now finished Act 3 out of 5, which means we've done about 60% of the book, and we now have the last 40% of the book. Today is the 27th of April. I started writing yesterday, I'm not gonna lie to you, but I was waiting for my plane at the airport. I was coming back from Brussels for my best friend's civil wedding, and when I was there I did a little bit of writing, so I did technically start the current scene that we're in, and I have a total of 50 scenes, which makes it so much easier for me to sort of calculate where I'm at in terms of percentage of my book, but we are starting with scene 33, and we will be finishing this act in scene 38. So it is a shorter act compared to the other ones. They're all about 10 scenes each, except this one. And Act 5 is also going to be a little bit longer, so it's about 12 scenes. My deadline is self-imposed, so I can always move it, but currently I'm trying to finish everything for June. I have not specified when exactly in June. I think currently I'm aiming for the middle of June. That's what I want to give my manuscript to my critique partners, and I've got another beta reader as well who I've asked to read the book. I'm really hopeful to get it done on time, because then that would leave me a little bit of the summertime to rest, take a pause, not think about this book, think about other projects potentially, and then come back to it refreshed. I have a calendar view of when I'm working on which scene, which has been really helpful to try and figure out if I can make that deadline in the first instance. And I do think currently I should be able to actually finish the entirety of the book by the 5th of June, so early June. But I will want a week or two just to reread everything and correct any like glaring spelling mistakes or anything, or just make sure that what I have changed makes sense when it's all stringed together, because I won't have reread it. It'll just be me getting it done. So that is the plan, and we have a bit of a tight deadline for this act because I'm trying to get it done by currently the 12th of May, and today is the 27th of April. Today I have the day off, so I'm hoping to get an entire scene done. It's not that many words either, and I have started it when I was at the airport. I've got maybe 1,000 words left to finish this scene. I can definitely do it today, and I'm hoping maybe I can start the next scene as well, which is scene 34. Where we are at in the actual story, so we've just passed my midpoint. My structure looks more like this, like it's uneven, and it's like about 60% of the book takes place before the midpoint, and then the rest, the last 40%, takes place afterwards, and it's more of the climactic moment where everything goes to shit and everything hits the fan, right? So that's the moment that happens. It's basically when Themis kills Kovac, and then all the dead all around them in the jungle of Panacea wake up and come back to the settlement to try and attack people and bite them. So that's technically my midpoint. And the scene we're in now is right after the crew has had that realization that this shit is real, that there are zombies and that people are turning into them after they die, because they've watched it happen on camera while they were trying to figure out how to get Jones out of the sealed lab. And this scene is when they realize Lucky is also stuck in the bridge between the lab and the crew quarters, and so Themis and Axel decide to go and try and, save him. And they're also gonna stop by her room to try and get more ammunition, because otherwise they're fucked. There's a few different things that happen in the scene, including the fact that they realize there's a traitor because she finds a lot of the stuff that she'd taken with her damaged, and someone broke the biolocks to get into the exo cases that she had brought. So someone damaged like the UV cannon that she got with her because she was planning on using all these weapons against the dead, and now they have less of a choice. Today is Thursday the 14th of May, and I have just reached scene 38, which out of 15 total, which is basically the last scene I've decided would be part of my Act 4 out of 5. So the manuscript is currently sitting at 81,000 words. I think we're doing okay because we might reach what I expected for this draft 2, which is going to be about 100k. It might be a little bit over. I did have like 3 or 4 new scenes in total, and some of my scenes have bulked up in size as well. The last 2 scenes I have written were probably the most emotional scenes of the entire book. It is when my character Themis tries to explain that Freddy is immune when she realizes that Freddy has been bitten, but it's too late and Saturn shoots Freddy because they believe that Freddy's gonna turn and become a zombie. So it becomes a very dramatic, intense, emotional scene because that's when Themis kind of loses it and becomes catatonic and it's just like not there. So the first scene is when the action itself happens, and then the second scene is from Axel's POV when he takes Themis away and into the infirmary after she's bitten by Lucky because she's catatonic and she basically does not care that she was just bitten. So he saves her, takes her to the infirmary to get her into the Medibot chair, and when he does, I had made it so he realizes she has Kovacs comms on her because she grabbed it when she was fighting him off her. This time around I managed to add the other thing I wanted to talk about, which is that she also has the amulet that Valaya gave her at the very beginning of the book, and so I feel like it's a nice... That's kind of like what snaps her out of it, because he talks about it and asks her about it, and then she says like, my friend Valaya gave it to me, it's for luck in love and relationship, and so she laughs and it kind of like snaps her out of this state that she's in. And I kind of like that I've managed to put that back in, because I feel like without it the scene felt a bit like we go from emotion to clue very quickly, and it's sort of like, why does she snap out of it? Why does she come back into her own body? But the reminder of her life back on Earth too, of the one friend she's got, is kind of a nice moment for her to like, here's your reason, here's why you come back to life, you know? And that was the last scene that I was writing right now, so I am moving on to the last scene of this act, which is essentially the part where they get to Kovacs' message to Themis. It's more of a conversation between her and Axel to get her back to fighting for this, and also after discovering Kovacs' last message to her, realizing that none of this is her fault and that the only thing that she can do is to stop Vortex from doing this again. One thing I'm realizing in this draft too, which is going to be a bit of a problem in this scene as well, is in this scene it's supposed to be a bigger moment when she decides, I don't need to use Lovelace to understand the prognostics and to know that the chance of finding Saturn alive are very low and very bad. She makes that decision, and it's like the evolution of her character arc. It's the moment that she's like, I don't need the numbers. I think people are different than data, and I can count on people to surprise me, therefore Saturn could be alive. That's meant to be the big moment, but I did delete quite a few passages where she's going through Lovelace and doing the prognostics. I have her doing this at the beginning. Like you see her doing these simulations to figure out where she went wrong and what she could have changed. But I think there were a couple more in the middle of the book that I kind of skipped because they did not feel like they were serving much purpose at the time in those scenes. And now I'm kind of regretting the decision because it's less of an impactful moment because we haven't seen her throughout the rest of the book doing this again and again. And that would be her moment where she doesn't do it and chooses not to. So either I need to change sort of the moment itself into something new, or I will need to go back potentially in draft 3, because I don't know if I have it in me to do this now, into these previous scenes and put back those passages where she's actually using Lovelace more to make this moment more impactful. So I don't know yet. I need to decide on this, but I have realized this as I was writing. I have it in my plan to finish this next chapter on Saturday, and so on Sunday I'm immediately diving into Act 5, and I'm not really taking a break between acts at the moment. I'm just like going straight to the next one because I'm still trying to keep myself accountable and finish this entire draft by mid-June to get to my critique partners. That's the plan. I think we can stick to it. Yeah, work has been kicking my ass for the past like couple of weeks, and so things have been slower and I'm writing a lot less every single day, and I'm just taking a little bit longer to get some of these chapters out. But I am managing my schedule to, like, it looks like it's still okay based on my little calendar. So I think we're still fine. However, I am not gonna stress myself into, you know, finishing this absolutely that one week. I decided I needed to finish it. So if everything needs to be moved by one more week, then so be it. There's just a gap that I'm gonna need to keep at the end of the month because there's a few days where I'm going to my best friend's wedding. So I will not be able to write around that time, and that's why I'm trying to be, okay, if I could finish as much as possible of all the chapters and scenes before then I will have some time to finish off the rest first week of June, because I'm off that week and I'm on holiday, so it'll be nice to have a little bit of time to do that. These vlogs have become more and more of me just giving you updates on my calendar and my schedule. So today is Monday the 18th of May, but I have actually been done with Act 4 since this weekend. I technically finished on Saturday. My friend Marta came over and we did some writing together, and that's when I actually finished the last chapter and the last scene that was in Act 4 out of my 5 acts. And I did fix a couple of instances which I was freaking out about because I realized, oh my god, I didn't even think about this plot hole. What is this new plot hole? So I'm glad I got the opportunity to fix those problematic moments as well. There was an instance where I realized that Lucky technically gets out of the place he's stuck in with no explanation as to how he does it. Obviously we find him again as a zombie, but before that he escapes while he's still human. And because I had made the change in his character to be a planetary geologist, I used that in order to fix my plot hole and my issue. Basically, he's stuck on a bridge between two habitats, and there are like sort of glass panels on the doors. And in the beginning, when we first enter Panacea, so the settlement, he makes a point of like, everyone is getting armed when they can, if they're allowed to, but not everyone has a weapon. And then he gets out this little like sort of geologist pickaxe type of thing, and he's like, if everyone's got a gun and I don't, then I'm gonna use this because I go nowhere without this. And it's like one of his tools, and I kind of figured this could be like something that ties in nicely with his personality. It does work with the kind of character that he is, and it ends up being what saves him. Well, no, he does get killed, but you know, what saves him temporarily when he's stuck on that bridge is that he's going to use that. I don't actually even need to go into detail in how he uses it or anything, because we don't have the scene on paper. We just know that this happened, and I guess there's just a moment where two characters very, very briefly discuss how he escaped, and they mention this pickaxe thing, and I'm like, okay, that will fix my plot hole. It's such a small detail, but I was like, oh my god, he's stuck on this bridge. How does he even get out? Because the doors are locked, because there's a breach alarm, and so no one can bypass that and, you know, get the doors to open. So how does he leave? And And similarly, I was having issues earlier about how I'm gonna tie back in this story of Themis overusing Lovelace to figure out the odds of people surviving all the time, and then I kind of reduced it back down. And then in the end I was like, I still need the moment when she stops using Lovelace to have some form of impact. I also realized that Axel has not been told about Lovelace, because there was technically a scene before in the gym when they chat together about Lovelace, and I deleted that, and that kind of is half the reason why the impact felt less strong and half the reason why I was like, this is a bit annoying to explain now because he isn't supposed to know about Lovelace, and so would she now get into a long conversation about it and explain what she's been doing? It's a little bit too late in the day to do that when she's finally decided not to use it anymore, and it would lose its impact even more. Instead, when he's snooping around in her room, he's looking at the flight path of the drones that she's asked Jones to use, and he clicks off and then sees the Lovelace logo and clicks on it and realizes, oh, this is her AI assistant, and maybe sees like just the logs of all the simulations without really going into details, because I don't want him to be to the point of creepiness snooping into her room. But I need it to be, it's a level that he would do as a security consultant who thinks that the captain is hiding something and that it's important. So I needed to be realistic enough, and I feel like he would probably still go into her AI assistant to be like, okay, that would tell me the most about her potential plan, and then realize, oh no, it has another type of information in there instead, and realize, oh, she's been running these simulations to know, you know, all about the odds of surviving Mission Eternity, which she did, but also the new odds by putting people through the training that she has been putting them through. And I feel like him knowing about it without her knowing that he knows actually still brings back the impact, because he does at some point manage to also say sorry for snooping in your room and looking at that, which I think otherwise he wouldn't have that opportunity, and it would make his character worse. So I'm happy with the solution of him being like, hey, by the way, I know about Lovelace, sorry about that, I shouldn't, but I was concerned. I feel like it brings back the impact. I have reduced down a little bit the last chapter, which is the chapter when Themis realizes that Kovacs left one last message, a goodbye message. I've given it a little bit more intense emotional bits, because at times I feel like over-explaining things was making it weaker. And so by reducing down a couple of paragraphs here and there, it is stronger now. Last time I read from this chapter the kiss scene, so I'm gonna read a few paragraphs earlier than the kiss scene when Axel is trying to tell Themis that she needs to stop blaming herself. I count the dead off on my fingers, something I've grown too accustomed to. He knew Otto and Sophie were dead. He didn't see Ali get bitten by Otto, but then he fought off Rodimir, so he probably thought I got Ali out, and Lance too. Except he saved you right after Ali was bitten, and he was a trained captain with an exceptional record. He would have noticed the body, even if things moved quickly. Fine, then at least Lance. I couldn't save Lance. And if I'd been in Kovacs' position, I would have thought you couldn't save anyone. None of them. That message wasn't supposed to be found, and he knew it. He didn't think you would get out alive yourself, but he hoped for it. Axel's arm tightens just a bit around me, and I welcome the warmth. That video was a dead man's last words to his dead crew. You weren't supposed to find it, and yet you did. You defied the odds again, not just for yourself, but for Wensley, for Dr. Soul, and for Saturn. Axel's words slip in the cracks of my armor, then anchor themselves in me, finding purchase in the last slivers of hope I have left. You saved more people than you should have, he says. That's it. I feel like on that note, I can end this video because we have finished an act, which means we have only one last act to get to, and we have a high word count. Just gonna very quickly look at my reverse outline table where I'm keeping track of my total word count, and we are now at 84,000 words, and we have one more act to get through, which I think is going to be 15 to 20k, because that's kind of it. My acts are each 15 to 20k, so yeah, probably at least 100k, maybe 105k in total for this book. Anyway, we're good, we're fine. I hope that you enjoyed this vlog, and that you will be watching the last one, because the next one will be the last vlog of draft 2, I guess. But we're getting so close to the end of this draft 2 journey, so thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.